Okay, so we're going to begin the digital color wheel exercise and open up Pixlr. And I'm in Pixlr X. That's one that is probably the easiest to use. And this is the way we kind of access an image that we've downloaded. And hopefully you've downloaded the color wheel. And I'm going to open it now. And here we are at the, we see the color wheel. We actually have a source color wheel that's been completed, but what we're going to use are images that we took with our camera and downloaded and hopefully cropped down so that it's just the essential color. And I'm going to run you through a couple different things that we want to do here, but the idea is to carry this through for all the colors, the primary colors and the secondary colors, and so on and so on. So it's a blank, and I want you to come down here to add an image, and you will browse, and I'm just going to go with yellow, my yellow Clorox bottle, open it up, and when it pops up to the screen, you actually want to add current. You don't want to have this be its own thing. And you can see on this color that on every corner you have a little square where you can shrink this down. I think a really useful tool to have while we're getting this to size is if you go over to this layer, and this should be treated as though it's almost like a stack of papers, like a collage. So this one is on top of the blank white color wheel that we're putting color into. So right here, we see that layer, and you can actually still see a little bit of that yellow. If you go here, you can make it a little bit transparent so we can see through it. We'll bring that back up in a second. So we have the color placed where we want it to be, as I can see from the template that's filled out. And what I want to do is I actually want to fill that into that space. So I will go over to this scissors, and it's the cutout tool. And we have different ways of cutting things out or actually adding things back if we need to. But I want to go to this lasso tool, and it will default to removing whatever you select. So let's say that I want to remove this bit here. I can. And one thing that's pretty helpful to know is if I am holding down and I let go, it will find the most direct path back to it. And you don't have to be super clean about this, although you can. If by chance I ended up taking a chunk out, I could go back to the keep part, and I would select that. Notice that the dotted line is now green, so it adds it back. So now that I've filled in that space, I probably want to bring it back up to 100% on that transparency bar. And now I'm going to compare visually what I see with this yellow and with this yellow. This one looks a little bit dull. So that's where we go into the tools that we used yesterday with the adjust tools. Now with some of these, I want you to get as close as possible to this original color. I might play with the brightness. Okay, that's getting a little bit closer. And I don't want to go with any transparency, although that would get us closer to the color. But you know, see what happens when that's getting a little too neon. It's getting a little bit closer. But what I love about the color that I've chosen, or the image that I picked, was that it does have some texture. I love the fact that it has some of the texture of that Clorox bottle with the lid. So that's a yellow, which is getting pretty close. And once I have that in place, it's probably a good idea to go back to these three little dots. And I want to, actually I need to move this over to here. Get rid of that add. And I want to hit this, which says duplicate layer. And it creates the exact same layer right on top of where I was just working. And whatever's highlighted, you can see it says yellow Clorox copy. Now, if I go to my arrange tool in Photoshop language, that's the move tool, you can see how it's highlighted, and I can move it down. Okay. I can also, since I've sized it pretty well, I can get it pretty close to what I need. If I need to lop off a little bit, I can go back to my lasso tool. That's actually keeping it. I want to remove. So I'm going to go here, remove, here, remove. And now let's see if I can get this color, which actually, in the language of color, this is a tint, and the one below is a shade. A tint, when we're actually mixing colors, is when you add white to something, and a shade is when you add black. What comes in between here, if we were to do that exercise, is called a tone, which is if you add gray to a color. But I just want us to do it for these three areas of a color. So now that I have this, I can go into my adjust tool, and I can play with exposure maybe, make things a little bit more pared back. And you can navigate through these bars and find the way to get to the best comparison to the color wheel. Now I might want to duplicate this layer one more time. Oh, that is the wrong tool, so I need to go to my Arrange tool. And come on, Arrange. Arrange. Okay, so it's highlighted. I drop it down. And here's also something to know that since we are working in layers, this is a stack of these layers. If I were to move this layer below this other one, you see how it changes what's in front and what's behind. So that's an easy way to drag and to arrange. So now I am going to, maybe I need to make this one a little bit bigger so that it fits well. Maybe I will play with that transparency to make it lighter so I can cut out the correct stuff. And I want to go to remove. It does have that red dotted line to help us know what is being removed. Okay, and let's pull back up to 100%. And now I want to make that darker. So this is highlighted here. And let's go into the adjust. And I think this is actually just going to be in this world. Okay, so we see that this matches pretty closely to these three. So once you feel pretty satisfied with that, you can move on to another color. So go right back here, add image. I'm going to browse, and let's go to my blue ice tray. Add to current, and I will find my blue right here. I can rotate it if I wanted to make it line up, look like it's fitting in there. Maybe make it smaller. And repeat this exercise for this color as well. Now, I did only ask you to have the primary colors, which are red, yellow, and blue, and the secondary colors, orange, violet, and green, as the source images. From there, I'm going to allow you to, for those in-between colors, whether you're talking about red, orange, which would be right here, or yellow, orange, which would be right here, you can take whichever source image you'd like. So if I wanted to make this yellow one, let me duplicate this. Close that down, duplicate the layer. If I wanted to arrange that, move it over to here, you could use this from either the yellow or the orange. I would go into the adjust tool, and you can play with the hue a little bit so that you can get something that's closer to here. So I'm going to allow you for these what we would call tertiary colors. Those are the colors in between or the mixture of a primary and secondary color, to go with one of these source image color texture areas. So that's how I want you to do the color wheel. Good luck, and that is the exercise for today.